One fascination of mine when it comes to history is to investigate peoples from the past, especially those living in the times of prehistory. Given that there are no written sources, it becomes a much more difficult task. But hey, that's the fun of it. The only crux that we really have to lean on is archaeology, and to some extent the study of gene pools. And as a result of this, I'm afraid to say that we don't have many, if any, clear-cut answers, but we can get a general idea of the story of early humans in Britain. So without further ado, let's begin this dive into prehistoric Britain. Britain has been settled, at least on and off, for thousands of years now, but the first continuous settlement of peoples that we know about emerges in the last ice age, around 12,000 years ago. The sea levels were a lot lower at this point, so there was actually an exposed land bridge between Britain and the European mainland. And this land bridge has been dubbed Doggerland. And this was the way that the first continuous settlers of Britain actually entered the land. A lot of what we know about these people comes from the archaeological find of the Cheddar Man. This skeleton has been used to give us an idea of what these early humans might have looked like. The current consensus is that these first migrants had dark brown skin, blue-green and hazel eyes, as well as dark hair. The most prominent area where this DNA can be found today is concentrated in northern Wales, as well as near Somerset in southwest England. Unfortunately, that's all that we know about these ancient hunter-gatherers. Around 6,000 years ago, the next wave of migration hit the shores of Britain. And I did not misuse the word shores, because Britain at this point has become an island, where rising sea levels and actually a tsunami caused by an underwater landslide in Norway have actually caused Doggerland to become submerged. And originally, these new peoples actually originated from Turkey, but they had been making their way west across the European continent. They were probably brown-skinned, brown-eyed, and had dark hair. Interestingly, the incoming population was actually much larger than the population of initial inhabitants. Perhaps most importantly, these peoples brought agriculture to the island. The resulting mingling of the two populations on the island is therefore very interesting, as it became a front between the older hunter-gatherer lifestyle and the newer agricultural way of life. The incoming population therefore had the advantage since it was an agrarian civilization, meaning that there were many more of them and that they almost certainly had a more complicated social organization, since that is a necessity for an agricultural society to function. There are a few different theories behind the ensuing replacement of the British population. Some argue outright that there was a genocide of the native population. However, this is incredibly unlikely, as approximately 10% of the DNA of the original inhabitants remains in the British gene pool today. Some believe that disease may have wiped out a majority of the native population, especially since hunter-gatherers would not have been exposed to the diseases of a people that had domesticated animals prior. And this could very likely have happened, but the most likely theory, I think, is that the population just got replaced over time. Given that the DNA from these original peoples remains to this day, we know that there must have been some interbreeding between the different populations. Probably what happened was that the birth rate of the farming peoples and their ability to sustain a larger population meant that the native population was outnumbered and eventually completely assimilated. The Iberian farmer people then experienced the same fate that they had brought upon the hunter-gatherers when the Celtic migrations occurred. The Celtic migrations probably occurred around the 6th century BC, and 90% of the DNA found in Britain was then replaced, to be replaced by Celtic DNA. I just want to note here that I don't love using the term Celtic in this sense, given that there's quite a lot of consensus today that the Celts are actually quite a diverse range of people. The thing that binds them is their language family, rather than any notion of being a completely unified cultural entity. But hey, still, it's a rather ironic tale of karma, right? Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to stay up to date with content, and I'll see you next time.